The Mafia King asked the invisible waitress one question, and her answer made him see the whole city differently. What would you do if the only person who treated you with respect was the man everyone called a monster? In a rain-soaked restaurant in New Orleans, June Harper is just another tired waitress carrying heavy plates through narrow aisles, smiling through insults, pretending the cruel jokes don't cut deep. Rich men snap their fingers. Beautiful women look through her. Nobody notices the woman in the black uniform. But that night, June sees what no bodyguard, no politician, and no killer sees. A poisoned glass. A silent betrayal. A choice that could start a war. Watch this story to the end, because sometimes the person everyone ignores is the one holding the truth. Like this video, and comment where you're watching from. Before the poisoned glass, before the locked doors, before June Harper stood in a room full of screaming strangers with a dead man at her feet, she was just trying to make it through another dinner shift without crying in the walk-in freezer. The Magnolia Room sat 3 blocks from the French Quarter, tucked behind iron balconies, gas lanterns, and live oaks that bent over the street like old women with secrets. From the outside it looked romantic. Green shutters, brass handles polished until they shone, white tablecloths visible through tall windows glowing warm against the New Orleans rain. Inside it smelled like butter bourbon, charred steak, lemon peel, and money. Not normal money, not paycheck money. Not the kind of money June counted in wrinkled bills at the end of every night while deciding whether rent or her mother's medicine could wait. This was old money, dirty money, political money, money that came with soft hands, hard eyes, and men who never raised their voices because they had other people to do that for them. June moved through it all with a tray balanced on her palm. Her black uniform dress was too tight at the hips and too loose at the shoulders because no one at the Magnolia Room had ever ordered uniforms with women like her in mind. The fabric scratched the inside of her arms. Her feet throbbed inside cheap black shoes that were already cracking at the sides. A curl had slipped loose from her bun and stuck to her cheek in the humid heat spilling out of the kitchen. She shifted sideways between 2 tables, holding her breath as her hip barely missed the corner of a chair. At table 12, a woman wearing pearls the size of June's rent pulled her champagne flute closer, as if June's body might knock over the whole evening just by existing near it. June smiled, not because she wanted to, because smiling was part of the job. "More water, ma'am." The woman did not look at her face. Her eyes flicked down, paused at June's waist, then returned to her plate. "That's fine." June filled the glass anyway. Halfway. Perfectly. No splash on the linen. The woman did not say thank you. June had learned not to wait for it. She turned toward the kitchen and the laughter followed her. Not loud enough to call out, just loud enough to wound. That was how rich people did cruelty. Softly, cleanly, in voices that could pretend innocence if confronted. By the service station, Eli Torres was stacking dessert plates with shaking hands. He was 22, thin as a broom handle, and so tired he looked transparent under the yellow light. His wife had given birth 6 days earlier, and he had been picking up every extra shift Ray Duvall would let him take. June set her tray down beside him. "You eat today?" Eli blinked at her. "A granola bar." "Jesus, Eli, I'm fine. You're swaying. I'm just standing with style." June reached beneath the counter and pulled out a paper napkin wrapped around half a shrimp po' boy from her break. Eli stared at it like she had handed him gold. "No, June. That's yours. It was mine. Now it's yours. Ray sees me eating, he'll lose it. Ray loses it when the ice melts too fast. Eat." Eli gave her a tired smile and took the sandwich. "You're scary when you whisper." "I'm scary all the time. People just don't pay attention." That made him laugh softly. Then his phone buzzed and the screen lit up with a photo of a newborn girl wrapped in a pink blanket. June saw his whole face change. "Is that Mia, yeah?" His voice warmed around the name. She smiled today. "Babies don't smile at 6 days old." She smiled at me. "Gas. Don't ruin this for me." June smiled for real, then small and brief, before the kitchen doors swung open and Ray Duval burst through, red-faced and sweating through his white dress shirt. "June, Table 9 wants their Sazeracs. Table 4 says the oysters are late. Table 7 arrives in 10 minutes and I want that section spotless." June picked up the tray again. "Table 7 is already spotless. Then make it more spotless." Ray was a narrow man with nervous eyes and a mustache too carefully trimmed to trust. He owned the Magnolia Room on paper, but everyone knew paper lied. The restaurant belonged to men who never signed documents, men who came through the back entrance and sat facing the exits, men whose names changed the temperature of a room. Ray leaned closer and lowered his voice. "And when Mr. Whitaker arrives, you smile, serve, and do not linger." "Understood." June looked at him. "I never linger. That mouth is going to get you fired. You've been saying that for 3 years, and every night I regret not doing it." "No, you don't. I remember who drinks what." Ray's jaw tightened because she was right. June remembered everything. She remembered Table 9 liked Sazeracs with exactly one twist of lemon. She remembered Alderman Grayson preferred his steak rare but sent it back if there was too much blood on the plate because he hated being reminded anything had been alive. She remembered Judge Calloway drank club soda in public and gin from a coffee mug in the private dining room. She remembered who tipped who cheated, who touched the waitresses, who prayed before dinner, and who lied while doing it. The dangerous part was that none of them remembered her. Not really. They saw a wide body in a black dress, a woman with soft arms and tired eyes, a waitress moving through candlelight with plates of food she could not afford. So they talked. They talked about money hidden in catering invoices, about port inspectors paid to look the other way, about girlfriends tucked away in Metairie apartments, about judges' shipments, favors, debts, and bodies that never reached the news. June carried the words quietly, not because she wanted power, because information was the only thing in her life no one had managed to take from her. She stepped back into the dining room with the Sazeracs just as a fresh wave of rain hit the windows. The Magnolia Room was filling fast, every table dressed in white linen, every chair occupied by someone pretending not to stare at someone else. A jazz trio played near the bar, slow trumpet curling through the air, soft enough to flatter the conversations happening over it. June delivered drinks to Table 9. One of the men, a shipping executive named Porter Hale, was leaning toward Alderman Neil Grayson. "I'm telling you, the vote passes Friday. Whitaker already has the East Terminal." Grayson tapped ash into a crystal tray, though smoking had not been allowed indoors in years. Rules bent around men like him. "The East Terminal is not the problem," Grayson said. "The problem is Baton Rouge. Bellamy still thinks the river owes him something." Porter laughed. "Travis Bellamy thinks a lot of things. He has men on the docks. He has boys playing soldier." Grayson's gaze slid toward June for a moment, empty and dismissive. She set down his glass. "You're Sazerac Alderman." He did not answer. Porter glanced at her name tag. "June Wright." She nodded. "You got anything with less sugar in it?" "My wife says I'm getting fat." He looked at her body as he said it. The men at the table smiled. June felt heat climb her neck, but her hand stayed steady. "I can bring you bourbon, sir." Porter grinned. "Better make it neat. Wouldn't want to end up needing 2 chairs." Another ripple of laughter. June smiled again. The smile had become a door she closed from the inside. "Of course, sir." She walked away slowly because speed made them think they had won. At the bar, she placed the order and let her fingers rest against the polished wood for one breath. Miguel, the bartender, glanced over. "You good?" June looked back at Table 9 where the men had already forgotten her. "Fine. You say fine like a funeral bell. She gave him a dry look. Then stop asking. Miguel slid the bourbon across the bar. Tables 7 and 5. As if the restaurant itself heard him, the front door opened. The sound was small. Just hinges, reigned the low murmur of the hostess greeting someone. But every important man in the room felt it. Conversations thinned. Forks paused. Porter Hale sat straighter. Alderman Grayson put out his illegal cigarette without being asked. Ray appeared near the host stand so quickly he might have been hiding behind the wall. Cole Whitaker stepped inside. He wore a charcoal suit, no tie, white shirt open at the throat beneath a black overcoat dampened by rain. He was not the largest man in the room, but he carried himself like size was a problem other people needed. His hair was dark, brushed back carelessly, and his face had the controlled stillness of a man who had learned young never to waste movement. 2 men entered behind him. Not flashy, not loud, just watchful. Cole removed his gloves finger by finger. Ray hurried forward. "Mr. Whitaker, your table is ready." Cole's eyes moved once around the restaurant. June knew that look. Not because anyone had taught her, because she had spent her life reading rooms that might hurt her. Cole was not admiring the decor. He was counting exits' faces, hands' distances. He noted the judge near the window, the alderman near the bar, the couple arguing under their breath in the corner, the busboy carrying plates too fast, the hostess pretending not to shake. Then his gaze passed over June. It did not slide off. It stopped. Not long. Not rudely. Not with the familiar little flicker of assessment men made when deciding whether a woman pleased them or offended them. He simply saw her. That was worse. June looked away first. Ray led him to table 7, the best table in the room, back to the wall, full view of both entrances. Far enough from the kitchen to avoid noise, close enough to the private hallway to leave without crossing the dining room. June already had his bourbon ready. Small batch. 2 fingers, 1 cube. No garnish. She carried it to him before Ray could snap his fingers. Cole had just removed his overcoat. One of his men took it without being told. June placed the glass near his right hand. "Good evening, Mr. Whitaker." Cole looked up. "Good evening, Miss Harper." Her fingers paused against the tray. He knew her name, not from the name tag. It was pinned low on her apron, half hidden by the tray. He had said it like he had known it before tonight. June recovered quickly. "Your usual." "Thank you." He placed a folded $100 bill beneath the edge of the coaster. June glanced at it. "That's too much for 1 drink." "It isn't for the drink." She met his eyes before she could stop herself. Cole's expression was unreadable. "For remembering," he said. June's throat tightened in a way that annoyed her. Remembering was invisible labor. Women like her did it all day. Remembered allergies, moods, bills, birthdays, pain, missing buttons, bus routes, how much medicine was left in the bottle, how to smile when the world kept pressing its thumb against the bruise. No one paid for remembering. Cole Whitaker just had. She slipped the bill into her apron. "Enjoy your evening. That depends on who walks through the door." His voice was calm, but June felt the sentence settle into the room like smoke. She stepped back. "Then I hope it's someone you like." A faint curve touched his mouth. "I rarely get that lucky." June turned before she smiled. The dinner rush thickened. Orders stacked up. Plates came hot under her palms. A woman complained that her soup was too cold, then complained when it came back steaming. A man asked June if the chef could make the jambalaya less ethnic, and June stared at him long enough for his wife to kick him under the table. Through it all, table 7 remained quiet. Cole did not eat much. He drank slowly. He listened more than he spoke. Men approached him one at a time, each trying to look relaxed and failing in his own way. First came Grayson, carrying his drink like a prop. Cole did not rise. Neil. Cole. They shook hands. Grayson leaned close enough that June, refilling water nearby, caught pieces of the conversation. "Friday is handled cleanly, as clean as City Hall gets, and the inspector transferred." Cole's voice softened. "I did not ask where he went. I asked if he can talk." Grayson swallowed. "No, he can't talk." Cole leaned back. "Good." June poured water into a glass that was already full. Neither man noticed. Then came Porter Hale, then a casino owner from Biloxi, then a woman in a cream suit who never gave her name but made every man at the table nervous. Cole heard them all with the same still patience. He was not warm. He was not kind in the ordinary way, but he was precise. When Miguel sent out the wrong bourbon by accident, Cole did not snap. He simply looked at the glass and said, "This is not mine." June took it away. When Eli dropped a fork near his table, Cole did not glare. He waited until Eli apologized, then said, "No harm done." When Ray hovered too close, sweating and smiling, Cole said, "Breathe, Raymond. You look like you are confessing." Ray gave a weak laugh and backed away. June saw it all. The danger in Cole was real. It lived in the room around him. It lived in the way men lowered their voices near him. It lived in the way even corrupt officials tried to please him. But there was something else, too. He did not spend cruelty like pocket change. Men like Porter Hale did. Men who had no real power but needed everyone to feel the smallness they feared in themselves. Cole did not do that. If he cut someone, June suspected he meant to draw blood, not laughter. At 8:37, the front door opened again. This time, the room did not quiet. It tightened. Travis Bellamy walked in as if he owned the rain outside and the air inside. He wore a pale blue suit that belonged at a summer wedding, not a winter night in New Orleans. His hair was slicked back too hard. A gold pinky ring flashed on his hand. His smile was wide and restless, the smile of a man who wanted everyone to know he was dangerous because he was not sure they believed it. 3 men followed him. They were younger than Cole's men, louder in their bodies, shoulders forward, chins up, hands too close to their jackets. Ray went pale. June heard Miguel whisper from the bar, "Hell." Travis did not wait for the hostess. He scanned the room, found table 7, and grinned. "Well, look at this. The king of New Orleans eating alone." Cole did not turn immediately. He took one slow sip of bourbon, then set the glass down. "Travis." Travis spread his arms. "You miss me?" "No." A few people looked down at their plates. Travis laughed anyway and pulled out the chair across from Cole. One of Cole's bodyguards shifted. Cole lifted his hand slightly. The man stopped. Travis dropped into the chair without permission. His men positioned themselves behind him, blocking the aisle enough that June would have to turn sideways to pass. She hated that kind of man, the kind who made space by taking it from everyone else. Ray appeared behind June, voice tight. "Table 7 needs the redfish, the ribeye, and the veal, now." June looked toward the kitchen window. "The veal is not up. Then make it up." "That's not how cooking works, Ray. Do not start with me tonight." From table 7, Travis's voice rose. "You have been moving into Baton Rouge business." Cole's reply stayed low. June could barely hear it from the service station. "I have been cleaning up what Baton Rouge business spilled." Travis's smile sharpened. "My father built those routes. Your father understood them. My father is dead." "Yes," Cole said. "That seems to have caused several problems." The silence after that was so sudden June heard the rain tick against the windows. Ray grabbed her arm. "Food. Now." June pulled free. "Do not grab me." Ray blinked, startled by the quiet force in her voice. She took the plates from the kitchen pass, blackened redfish with lemon butter, ribeye bleeding into rosemary potatoes, veal with capers and browned butter. Her tray was heavy hot and slick beneath her fingers. She crossed the dining room. The space around table 7 felt different, like the air had been pulled tight over wire. Travis was leaning forward. "You think you can call me sloppy in front of half the city?" Cole looked at him with mild interest. "I think if I wanted half the city to hear me, I would speak louder." June arrived at the table. Blackened redfish, ribeye medium rare, veal with capers. Travis did not move his arm, so she could not set down the plate. "Excuse me, sir." He looked at her then. His gaze dragged over her body with open contempt. "Well, damn." June held the tray steady. Travis looked at Cole. "This your new security?" She blocks the bullets by standing in front of them. One of his men laughed. June felt every eye at nearby tables turn toward her and then away, the way people always looked away when embarrassment was easier than decency. She kept her voice level. "Your plate, sir." Travis leaned back, but only slightly. As June placed the veal down, his knuckles brushed against her waist. It was not accidental. He pulled his hand back with a theatrical grimace. "Christ. Ray needs to stop hiring girls who eat the profits." Heat flooded June's face. Not anger first. Shame. That was what she hated most. That her body remembered shame before her mind could reject it. That some part of her still wanted to disappear on command. Cole's eyes moved to Travis's hand, then to June's face. His voice came soft. "Apologize." Travis blinked. What Cole did not repeat himself loudly. He did not need to. "Apologize to Miss Harper." The name landed on the table like a weapon. June's breath caught. Travis stared at him, then burst out laughing. "You serious?" Cole leaned back in his chair. "You are in my city at a table I allow you to sit at breathing because I have not grown bored of this conversation. Do not mistake my patience for hospitality." Travis's laughter faded. For a second, something ugly and frightened passed through his face. Then pride covered it. He looked at June. "Sorry, Miss Harper." He made her name sound like an insult. June nodded once. "Thank you." Her voice did not shake. She finished setting down the plates. Cole watched her, and this time she did not look away. There was something in his expression she could not name. Not pity. Pity had a softness that made her skin crawl. Not desire either, though his gaze was too intense to be harmless. Recognition, maybe, as if he had just watched someone take a blade between the ribs and continue serving dinner. June stepped back, turned, and walked toward the service station. Behind her, the conversation resumed in lower tones. Travis said, "You always had a flair for drama." Cole replied, "And you always mistook noise for leverage." June placed the empty tray down and flexed her fingers. Eli appeared beside her, whispering, "You okay?" She looked at him. "I hate when people ask me that tonight. That means no. That means I'm working." Eli looked toward table 7. "That guy is trouble." "Which one? The shiny one?" June almost smiled. "Stay away from him. I was planning on it." Ray hissed from behind them. June, "Stop chatting. Table 14 wants dessert menus." June grabbed the menus and moved. But her attention kept returning to table 7. She knew the rhythm of dangerous rooms. She knew when laughter was real and when it was bait. She knew when a man was embarrassed enough to do something stupid. Travis Bellamy had come in loud, but something under his skin was unraveling. His fingers tapped against the table. His smile appeared and vanished too quickly. He drank water, but did not touch the wine. His eyes kept flicking toward Cole's bourbon. June noticed because noticing was what she did. At table 14, a husband and wife were celebrating an anniversary badly. The wife had been crying in the restroom earlier. The husband had lipstick on his collar that did not match hers. They ordered bread pudding and 2 coffees without looking at each other. At table 6, Judge Calloway was drunk enough to call the hostess by the wrong name 3 times. At table 9, Grayson had stopped pretending to enjoy his drink and was watching Cole's table with the tight focus of a man waiting for weather to break. The restaurant was still beautiful. Candlelight on glass, rain on windows, trumpet notes floating over low conversation. But beneath it, June felt something gathering, like pressure before a storm. She delivered the dessert menus checked on table 12, replaced a dropped napkin, and corrected a steak order before the customer realized it was wrong. Her body moved through the tasks automatically, but her mind stayed near Cole and Travis. When she passed the bar, Miguel leaned close. "Ray says Bellamy's men are carrying." "Everyone in here is carrying something," June said. "I mean guns." "I know what you meant." Miguel looked worried. "You should let Tommy take table 7. June glanced at Tommy, who was hiding near the espresso machine, pretending to polish spoons. Tommy looks like he might faint if someone says marinara too loud. Miguel sighed. "You always do that." "What? Stand in the fire because someone else is scared?" June picked up a clean tray. "No, I stand where rent is due." She returned to the kitchen for the next course. The cooks were moving fast voices, overlapping pans, flaring knives, chopping. The whole room sweated under fluorescent lights. For a moment it felt almost safe, loud, ordinary human. Then Ray entered through the swinging doors and clapped twice. "Listen up. Nobody goes near table 7 unless I say. Nobody talks to Bellamy's men. Nobody makes eye contact. We get through tonight, we all still have jobs tomorrow." One of the line cooks muttered, "Or lungs." A few people laughed nervously. June tied her apron tighter. Ray pointed at her. "You. Coffee service in 5. Table 7. Yes, and do not get clever." June lifted an eyebrow. "I serve coffee, Ray. I'm not storming a castle. With you, I never know." She took the coffee tray. As she waited for Miguel to set the cups, she caught her reflection in the stainless steel cabinet. Round face, tired eyes, a body that filled the uniform in ways the uniform resented. A loose curl pasted to her temple, lipstick faded from drinking water out of a paper cup between orders. For a second, she saw herself the way the room saw her. Too much, too ordinary, too easy to dismiss. Then she blinked, and the reflection became useful again. People never guarded their secrets around someone they had already decided not to respect. Miguel placed the final cup on her tray. "Careful." June gave him a look. "Everybody keeps saying that like it helps. It means I like you alive. That helps." She stepped back into the dining room. At table 7, Cole and Travis were no longer pretending the conversation was civil. Travis had both hands on the table. "You think because my father is gone you can carve up what he left?" Cole's bourbon sat near his right hand, amber under the chandelier light. "I think your father left you a kingdom," Cole said, "and you have been pawning off the furniture." Travis's mouth twitched. "You always talk like a preacher before a funeral, only when the corpse is stubborn." June reached the table with the coffee. The men did not stop. Travis leaned in. "The docks belong to my family." Cole's gaze stayed steady. "The docks belong to whoever can keep federal agents from crawling through them. Your people are loud. Your books are dirty. Your drivers are careless. Sloppy men attract attention." Travis's face darkened. June set one coffee down near Cole's guard, another near Travis's man. Her tray felt suddenly too heavy. Cole continued. "And attention is bad for business." Travis smiled. It was not a happy expression. "You keep saying business like this is a boardroom." Cole's hand rested near his bourbon. "No, Travis. I say business because you are too emotional for war." Something in Travis went still. June felt it. A small silence inside the larger one. Then Cole's phone lit up on the table. Just a flash of blue-white against the linen. Cole's eyes dropped to the screen, only for a heartbeat. June was standing beside him, coffee tray balanced in her left hand. Her gaze lowered because that was where the cups were, where the glassware was, where invisible women were expected to look. That was why she saw Travis Bellamy's right hand move toward Cole's drink. It happened so smoothly that anyone else would have missed it. Travis did not lean. He did not look at the glass. He did not even stop talking. His left hand stayed open on the table, fingers spread like he was making a point about the docks, about family honor, about all the things weak men dressed up as principle when what they really wanted was control. But his right hand slipped beneath the edge of his jacket. June saw the flash of something small between his fingers. Glass. A tiny vial no longer than her thumb. Her breath stopped. Cole's phone still glowed on the linen. His eyes were down for less than a second. That was all Travis needed. His thumb moved once. A pale dust slid from the vial into Cole's bourbon. The powder touched the amber liquor and vanished like it had never existed. No splash, no cloud, no smell strong enough for the room, just murder dissolving quietly in a crystal glass. June stood still with the coffee tray in her hand. Around her, the magnolia room continued breathing. Forks scraped plates. The trumpet near the bar bent a blue note through the air. Rain tapped gently against the windows. A woman laughed too loudly at table 12. Eli came out of the kitchen carrying desserts, unaware that he had just stepped into the edge of a war. Cole lifted his eyes from the phone. His hand drifted toward the bourbon. June's body went cold. She had heard enough whispered things in this restaurant to understand what happened when men like Cole Whitaker died. There would be no simple police report, no neat headline, no peaceful investigation. If Cole dropped dead at table 7, Travis Bellamy would not just leave New Orleans. His men would fire first and explain later. Cole's guards would answer. The dining room would become a shooting gallery wrapped in velvet and candlelight. June saw Eli's newborn baby in the photo on his phone. She saw Miguel behind the bar. She saw the old woman at table 3 with the silver cane hooked over her chair. She saw Ray Duvall pretending to manage a room he had never truly controlled. If she screamed, everyone might die. If she stayed quiet, Cole would. His fingers touched the glass. June moved. She did not think of herself as brave. Brave sounded clean. Brave sounded like something people said afterward when they did not have to pay for the choice. This was not bravery. This was math. Her hip struck the corner of the table hard enough to make pain flare bright through her side. The coffee tray tilted. Cups rattled. One shattered. Hot coffee splashed across Travis Bellamy's pale blue suit, spreading dark across his lap and down one thigh. June gasped loud and high. "Oh my Lord, I'm so sorry." Travis shot to his feet. The chair scraped backward with a sound like a scream. "You stupid cow." Every head in the restaurant turned. June let the tray wobble again. She caught herself on the edge of the table, knocking over the water glass nearest Travis. Ice scattered across the linen. A coffee cup rolled toward Cole's bourbon. Travis's men reached inside their jackets. Cole's guards moved at the same time. The room held one sharp breath. June made herself panic, not real panic, not the kind clawing up the inside of her ribs, that she buried deep. This panic had a shape, a voice, a performance. "I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. Please let me clean it. I'll get fresh drinks." "Please, sir, I didn't mean to." She grabbed napkins. Too many. She dabbed at the table at nothing, at the spilled coffee at the corner of Travis's sleeve. He swatted at her hand. "Get off me." "Yes, sir." "I'm sorry, sir." Her palm closed around Cole's bourbon. The glass was cool, heavy, deadly. She placed it on her tray beneath a folded napkin, then swept up 2 broken pieces of porcelain beside it to make the movement look natural. Travis grabbed her wrist. His fingers dug into her skin. June looked up. His face was close enough that she could see sweat beading at his upper lip. His eyes were bright with rage, but beneath it was fear. Not of her, never of her, of looking weak in front of Cole. "You think you can make a fool of me?" June kept her voice small. "No, sir. You ruined a $3,000 suit. I'll pay for the cleaning." That made him laugh once, ugly and sharp. "With what tip money and coupons?" More laughter rose from nearby tables, nervous this time because no one knew whether laughing was safer than silence. Cole spoke. "Let her go." Travis did not release her. Cole's voice did not rise. Travis. The name settled over the table. Travis looked at him. Cole's hand rested flat on the linen, nowhere near a weapon, but somehow more threatening than if he had drawn one. "You have made enough mistakes tonight." Travis held June's wrist for one more second, squeezing just hard enough to promise bruises. Then he let go. June stepped back, clutching the tray. Cole's eyes flicked toward the napkin covering his stolen glass. Only once. June saw it. Something moved through his gaze, not surprise, interest. That frightened her more. She backed away from the table, turned, and walked toward the kitchen as fast as she could without running. Running would make men chase. June had learned that in other rooms in other parts of her life long before she ever carried a tray through the Magnolia Room. The kitchen doors swung open before her. Heat swallowed her. Steam rose from pots. Pans hissed. A cook shouted for more parsley. Someone cursed at the fryer. The world inside the kitchen was loud and bright and ordinary enough that June almost lost her balance. She set the tray down near the industrial sink. Her hand was shaking now, badly. She pulled the napkin away. The bourbon sat there golden and beautiful. It looked harmless. That was the worst part. Death should have the decency to look like itself. June grabbed the glass, poured it straight down the drain, and turned the hot water on full blast. The liquid vanished into the stainless steel sink. She kept the water running until steam rose around her hand. 10 seconds. 20. She did not know if poison could cling to a drain. She did not know if she had just saved a man or started a worse disaster. She only knew her lungs hurt because she had forgotten to breathe. Eli appeared beside the dry storage shelves, still holding a dessert plate. June. She turned too fast. He froze. "What happened? Go outside. What? Take the trash out. Now." "I just took it. Then take it again." He stared at her wrist where Travis's fingers had left red marks. "Did he hurt you?" June grabbed his arm and pulled him closer, lowering her voice. "Eli, listen to me. Go out the back door. Stay by the dumpster. Call your wife and talk about the baby. Do not come back in until I come get you." His face drained. "June, what is going on? Please." That did what shouting could not. He nodded. "All right." He slipped out through the back door, dessert plate still in his hand. June turned back to the sink. The hot water ran over nothing. A bitter scent lingered in the air, faint and sharp beneath the steam. Almond, maybe. Chemicals, maybe. Something old and wrong. She shut off the tap. Behind her, Ray burst through the kitchen doors. "What the hell did you do?" June turned slowly. Ray's face was blotched red with fear. "Bellamy is threatening to sue. His men are staring at my staff like they're picking meat off a menu. Mr. Whitaker has not moved." "Do you understand the position you put me in?" June stared at him. For one strange moment she wanted to laugh. The position she put him in. Not Travis with his poison, not Cole with his empire, not the men carrying guns in a dining room full of civilians. Her, the waitress with coffee on her apron. "I tripped," she said. Ray pointed a shaking finger at her. "You always have an excuse." "No, Ray. Usually I have a reason. Tonight you get an excuse." His eyes narrowed. "What does that mean?" It means I need a fresh bourbon for table 7. Ray blinked. You think you're going back out there? Yes. You are out of your mind. Probably. She picked up a clean glass. Ray lowered his voice. June, if you know something, say it. There it was, not concern. Self-preservation. June studied him. Ray Duval, who knew every envelope passed under every table. Ray, who sweated when Cole entered and bowed when Grayson snapped his fingers. Ray, who treated his staff like bodies until danger made them witnesses. She said, I know table 7 needs a fresh drink. Ray held her stare. Then he looked away first. Miguel will pour it. June walked back into the dining room with the clean bourbon on her tray. The restaurant had changed. No one was eating now. They pretended to. Forks moved. Glasses lifted. But the conversations had gone thin. Everyone watched table 7 from the corners of their eyes. Travis was gone. The restroom door near the hallway stood closed, and one of his men waited outside it with his arms crossed. Cole sat alone. His plate remained untouched. His napkin lay folded beside it. His bodyguards stood a little farther back than before, faces empty. June approached. Each step felt too loud. She set the new bourbon in front of him. Cole did not look at the glass. He looked at her wrist. The marks from Travis's hand were darkening. His jaw tightened almost imperceptibly. Then he reached out and wrapped his fingers around her wrist. June's whole body went still. His grip was not cruel. It did not hurt. It simply made escape impossible. You did not trip, he said. It was not a question. June tried to pull back. He let her feel that she could not then loosen his grip enough to prove he was choosing not to hurt her. I told you, she said, slipping into the soft, harmless voice customers liked. I'm clumsy. Cole studied her face. No. The word was quiet. You were afraid. But not of falling. Your eyes went to my glass first, then to Bellamy's hand, then to the room. June said nothing. You counted casualties before you moved. Her throat tightened. The dining room blurred at the edges. Cole leaned closer. Most people scream when they see danger. You solved it. June met his eyes. For the first time that night, she let the mask drop. If I screamed, your men would shoot his men. His men would shoot yours. Everyone between you would bleed. Cole's gaze sharpened. You saved my life. I saved the room. A faint smile touched his mouth. There is a difference. To me, yes. Cole released her wrist. June should have stepped back. She did not. From beneath the edge of the table, Cole lifted something small between two fingers. The vial. Empty. June's stomach dropped. He dropped it when you hit the table, Cole said. Careless. You knew I suspected when he refused wine and watched my glass like a starving dog. June looked at the vial. Then why did you let him do it? Cole's expression cooled. Suspicion is smoke. I needed flame. June felt anger cut through her fear. So I was flame. His eyes returned to hers. You were not part of my plan. I find that hard to believe. That is because you are intelligent. The compliment landed strangely. Not sweet, not polished, just factual. Cole turned the tiny vial in his fingers. There was enough residue left to test. Bitter almond. Fast acting. He came here to kill me and blame the chaos on panic bad shellfish, anything messy enough to hide inside the noise. June glanced toward the restroom. He will try again. No, Cole said. He will try to leave. The restroom door opened. Travis stepped out his suit jacket, buttoned awkwardly over the stained pants. His face was purple with humiliation. He had cleaned nothing. The coffee stain still spread down his lap like a wound. The dining room quieted again. Travis strode back toward the table. This meeting is over. Cole slipped the empty vial into his jacket pocket. June noticed the movement. So did Travis. For the first time, uncertainty flickered across his face. Cole lifted the fresh bourbon June had placed on the table. "You are leaving without a toast." Travis barked a laugh. "I do not drink with men who hide behind waitresses." Cole's expression remained mild. "And yet you came here hoping I would drink with you." Travis stopped. June felt the words hit their mark. Cole stood. Not quickly, not dramatically. He simply rose and the room seemed to shrink around him. "You insulted my city. You insulted my table. You insulted Miss Harper." Travis's mouth curled. Still on that, Cole held out the glass. "One drink. Then walk out and tell Baton Rouge whatever version lets you sleep." Travis stared at the bourbon. His men shifted behind him. One of them said quietly, "Boss." That was enough. Pride did the rest. Travis took the glass. His fingers tightened around it. June's pulse roared in her ears. She did not know what Cole had done. She did not see his men move. She did not see anyone touch the glass after she placed it down. But she knew with a certainty that made her skin go cold that Cole Whitaker had not offered mercy. Travis lifted the drink. "To your decline, Whitaker." Cole's eyes did not leave his face. "To consequences." Travis drank. All of it. For a moment, nothing happened. The jazz trio had stopped playing without realizing it. The trumpet player held his instrument against his chest. A server stood frozen near the bar with a bowl of soup in both hands. Travis smiled. See, still breathing. Then his smile twitched. His hand rose toward his throat. June heard the first wet catch of breath. Travis blinked. Once. Twice. His eyes widened. He grabbed the edge of the table, knocking over silverware. His knees buckled. One of his men stepped forward, but Cole's guards already had their weapons drawn. "Do not," Cole said. The man stopped. Travis tried to speak. No words came out, only a strangled, gurgling sound that turned June's blood to ice. He fell backward, hitting the marble hard. His body seized. His heels scraped against the floor. Blood-tinged foam gathered at the corner of his mouth. The dining room broke open. Someone screamed. A chair toppled. Glass shattered. A woman crawled beneath a table. Porter Hale cursed and stumbled toward the wall. Ray Duval stood at the kitchen doors with both hands over his mouth. Travis Bellamy clawed at his own collar. Then his hand fell. The room watched him die. June could not move. She had seen death in movies, on the news, in whispered stories. But real death was smaller and uglier. It did not care about power or suits or family names. It took the body and left the costume behind. Cole looked down at Travis without expression. Then he turned his head. "Lock the doors." His men moved immediately. The front entrance closed. The side hallway was blocked. The back door opened just long enough for Eli to be pulled inside by one of Cole's guards, pale and shaking, but alive. June's knees nearly gave. Cole stepped over Travis Bellamy's body and walked toward her. The screams softened in her ears, not because they stopped, but because fear had narrowed the world to him. He stopped inches away. Rain trembled against the windows behind him. The dead man lay on the marble between the tables. And Cole Whitaker, the most feared man in New Orleans, looked at June Harper as if the entire night had been waiting for her answer. "You saved me," he said. June gripped the empty tray against her stomach. "I told you. I saved the room." "No." His voice lowered. "You chose." June swallowed. Cole reached into his jacket and showed her the tiny glass vial again, now sealed inside a folded white napkin. "He brought death to my table. You took it away before it could choose for me. Then you gave it back." Cole's eyes darkened. I gave him what he carried. June looked at Travis's body, then back at Cole. For the first time, she understood the shape of the world she had stepped into. In Cole Whitaker's world, mercy was not the opposite of violence. Mercy was deciding who deserved to leave the room. The thought should have made her run. Instead, she stood still. Cole took one more step closer. You owe me nothing, June Harper. Not loyalty, not silence, not gratitude. He glanced at the guests hiding beneath white tablecloths and polished chairs. These people have made a lifetime of looking through you. I know that because I watched them do it tonight. June's grip tightened on the tray. Cole's voice became softer and somehow more dangerous. So I need to ask you one question. The restaurant seemed to hold its breath again. June looked up at him. His face was calm, but his eyes were alive with something that felt like judgment, fascination, and hunger all at once. When a monster stands in front of you and another monster gives you the chance to let him die, why save him? June opened her mouth. For once, the whole room waited to hear what the invisible woman would say. June looked at all of them. The businessmen on their knees beneath white tablecloths, the women in diamonds clutching their pearls like prayer beads. The alderman pressed against the wall with his mouth hanging open. The judge who had spent 3 hours drinking gin out of a coffee cup and now looked sober enough to fear God. They were all watching her. For years, rooms like this had swallowed June Harper whole. They had made her feel too wide for the aisles, too plain for the lighting, too ordinary for respect. They had taught her how to apologize for taking up space, how to fold pain into a smile, how to carry insults with the breadbasket. Now those same people waited for her voice. Cole Whitaker stood close enough that she could see a tiny fleck of rain still caught in his dark hair. His face gave away nothing. Not anger, not mercy, not impatience. Only attention. That was the most dangerous thing of all. June lowered the tray from her stomach. Her fingers ached from gripping it. You want to know why I saved you? Cole did not blink. Yes. She looked past him at Travis Bellamy's body. The man had called her names like they were loose change in his pocket. He had grabbed her wrist, laughed at her body, and tried to poison another man in a room full of strangers because pride mattered more to him than human life. Then she looked at Cole. You said thank you. The room stayed silent. Cole's eyes narrowed slightly, not with confusion, but with the kind of focus that made June feel every word had weight. That is your answer. That is where it starts. Her voice was softer than she wanted, so she made it stronger. You learned my name. You looked at my face when you spoke to me. You tipped for the thing no one ever notices. Remembering, Cole said. June gave a faint nod. Yes. Remembering. A woman under table 12 let out a quiet sob. June ignored her. These people come in here every night wearing their good clothes and their wedding rings and their church voices. They talk about charity over plates that cost more than my electric bill. They call themselves decent, respectable. Her throat tightened, but she kept going. And they look at me like I am a problem with legs. Cole's expression did not change, but something in his eyes darkened. June turned slightly, letting her gaze move across the room. You think I do not hear you? I hear everything. Every joke under your breath, every little comment about my body, every time you ask for another server because you want someone prettier near your table, every time you say sweetheart like you are petting a dog. No one moved. No one dared. June looked back at Cole. You are not a good man, Mr. Whitaker. I know that. Everybody knows that. You make people disappear. You own men who pretend to own this city. There is blood on your money and probably on your soul, too. A few people flinched as if she had fired a gun. Cole did not. June took one breath. But you never made me feel less human just because you could. The words came from somewhere old in her, somewhere bruised, private, and tired of hiding. So when I saw that glass, I did not think about saving a saint. I thought about the room. I thought about Eli in the kitchen with a baby at home. I thought about bullets through walls and people dying because two men with too much pride wanted to play king. Her gaze dropped once more to Travis. And maybe I thought a monster who says thank you is still better than a room full of angels who spit on your shoes. The silence after that was almost physical. June expected laughter, anger, a slap, a bullet. Instead, Cole smiled. Not wide, not warm. A slow, controlled curve that made the air feel charged. "There she is," he said. June's pulse kicked. There who is? The woman they were too blind to fear. He turned his head toward the room. "Carter." One of his bodyguards stepped forward. "Yes, sir. No one leaves until statements are collected. Phones go in the silver ice buckets. Anyone who argues gets a private conversation." The guests froze. Carter nodded and began moving. Cole looked back at June. "Get your coat." June almost laughed. "I am sorry." "Your coat. I am in the middle of a shift." "Your shift ended when a crime boss died in your section. That is not usually how Ray handles scheduling." Cole's mouth twitched. Behind him, Ray Duvall made a strangled sound. June looked toward the kitchen doors. Ray stood there, pale and sweating his eyes, begging her not to make trouble, not to say his name, not to remember all the things she knew. He had not defended her once, not from customers, not from cooks, not from men like Travis. Now he looked at her like she had become a loaded weapon someone left on the table. Cole followed her gaze. "Raymond will manage." Ray nodded too quickly. "Yes. Yes, of course. June, take whatever time you need." June stared at him. For 3 years he had denied her time off for doctor appointments, for her mother's hospital visits, for fevers, for grief, for exhaustion. Now he offered it because Cole Whitaker stood beside her. Something inside her went quiet. She untied her apron. The room watched as she folded it once neatly and set it on the table beside Cole's untouched plate. Her name tag caught the light. June Harper. For once, she did not feel the need to pin it back on. "My coat is in the staff room," she said. Cole stepped aside. "Then we will get it." "We—" His gaze held hers. "Yes." June walked first. That surprised people. She saw it on their faces. They expected Cole to lead and her to follow with lowered eyes. Instead, she passed him and crossed the dining room under the chandelier light, past the marble where Travis Bellamy lay dead, past the guests who had finally learned how to look at her. The staff room smelled like bleach old coffee and damp wool. June opened her locker with fingers that still trembled. Inside was her coat, cheap and brown with one missing button. Her purse sat beneath it, along with a paperback novel, a bottle of pain relievers, and a grocery receipt she had been avoiding. Cole stood in the doorway, too expensive and too lethal for the cramped little room. June pulled on the coat. It barely closed over her chest. For the first time, she hated it not because of her body, but because the coat looked like every year she had survived on less than she deserved. Cole noticed. He noticed everything. "You are shaking," he said. June grabbed her purse. "I watched a man die." "Yes." "And I may have helped." "Yes. And now I am leaving with the man who made sure he did." Cole did not soften the truth. "Yes." She looked at him then. "Are you going to kill me? No. Are you going to threaten me? Not unless you make a habit of lying to me." "That sounds like a threat." That was a boundary. She let out a breath that was almost a laugh. "You are very calm for someone standing next to a waitress who just accused him of having blood on his soul. I have been accused of worse by people with less courage." June did not know what to do with that, so she walked past him. The back exit opened into rain. New Orleans at night was all wet pavement and gold light. The alley behind the Magnolia Room smelled like garbage river air and cigarette smoke. Rain slid down the brick walls and gathered in broken places along the pavement. A black Cadillac waited near the curb. Armored, polished, silent. One of Cole's men opened the rear door. June stopped. The inside looked like another world. Black leather, soft lighting, a glass partition, a crystal decanter tucked into a polished console. She looked back at the restaurant. Through the kitchen window, she saw Eli standing near the sink, alive and frightened. Miguel had one hand on his shoulder. Ray was speaking to one of Cole's men with the desperate obedience of a man who had discovered he was not the most powerful person in his own business. June turned to Cole. "If I get in that car, what happens to me?" Cole stepped close enough that the rain on his coat brushed against her sleeve. "That depends on what you want." "No. Men like you do not ask women like me what we want." His eyes stayed on hers. "I just did." June hated that her heart reacted to that. Hated that some lonely part of her wanted to believe the question. She got into the car. Cole followed. The door closed, and the world outside disappeared. For several seconds, there was only silence. No rain, no jazz, no screaming diners. The car was so soundproof it made June feel suspended between lives. Cole poured amber liquor into 2 glasses. June watched his hands. Steady, elegant, scarred across one knuckle. He offered her a glass. She did not take it. "You cannot be serious." His brow lifted. "You think I would poison you after tonight? I think I would be stupid not to consider it." Cole looked at the glass, then took a sip from it himself. He handed it back to her. June accepted it. The liquor burned all the way down, warm and smoky, making her cough once despite her best effort not to. Cole leaned back. "You saved my life and insulted me in front of half the city. You asked." "I did. So what do you want?" There it was. No soft landing, no polite pretending. Cole studied her for a long moment. "I have a leak." June waited. "Someone close to me has been feeding information to Baton Rouge and to federal agents. Routes, driver schedules, port inspections, private meetings. Things only my inner circle should know." June wrapped both hands around the glass to stop them from shaking. "That sounds like a problem for criminals." "It is. I carry plates. You carry more than plates." She looked out the tinted window. Rain blurred the alley lights into long gold lines. "You do not know me. I know you saw a murder happen before it became one. I know you counted the room faster than my trained men. I know you moved without waiting for permission. I know everyone in that restaurant underestimated you, and you used that like a knife." June turned back to him. "That does not make me one of you." "No." "Good. It makes you useful." The word should have offended her. It did not. Useful was better than pitied. Useful meant purpose. Useful meant leverage. Still, she kept her voice hard. "I am not your pet project. No, I am not your mistress. No, I am not something you found in the rain and get to keep." Cole's gaze sharpened. "No." June leaned forward. "If I help you, it is because I choose to. And if I choose to stop, I walk away." Cole's silence stretched. For the first time, she saw the conflict in him. Not because he doubted her worth, because letting anyone walk away from his world went against every rule that had kept him alive. Finally, he said, "If walking does not put you in a grave, you walk. That is not a clean yes. It is the cleanest truth you will get from me." June believed him. That frightened her too. She took another sip, smaller this time. My mother needs a better apartment. First floor, no mold, close to her clinic. Done. You do not know the cost. I know the word done. Eli Torres keeps his job or gets a better one. Somewhere safe. He has a wife and a newborn. Done. And Ray Duvall never touches my schedule, my wages, or my dignity again. Cole's mouth curved slightly. Raymond is about to have many concerns. You will not be one of them. June looked at him carefully. What do you want me to do? Listen. I already do that. Now you will do it in rooms where men pay more to lie. The car pulled away from the alley. June felt the movement beneath her smooth and powerful. Why me? Cole's answer came without hesitation. Because people reveal themselves around those they do not respect. Something in her chest tightened. He did not say it gently. He did not decorate it. He simply named the shape of her life. June looked down at her hands. The bruises on her wrist had darkened. Cole saw them. His face changed. Only slightly, but enough. That will be answered for. June looked up. Travis is dead. I was not talking about Travis. The meaning sank in. Every cook who muttered, every customer who grabbed, every manager who allowed it because tips mattered more than waitresses. June shook her head. I do not need revenge for every ugly thing ever said to me. No. If I started that list, neither of us would sleep. Cole's eyes held hers. Then what do you need? The question reached places she had guarded for years. June almost said money, safety, her mother's medicine, shoes that did not split at the sides, but beneath all of that was the thing she barely admitted to herself. I need to stop apologizing for being in the room. Cole nodded once, as if that was not foolish, as if it was not too much to ask, as if it was, in fact, the minimum. The car turned through the garden district. Mansions rose behind iron gates, pale and grand beneath the rain. Live oaks spread their branches over the street. Gas lamps flickered in the mist. Cole's house sat behind a wall covered in ivy. It was not new money bright. It was old power quiet. White columns, dark shutters, balconies wrapped in iron, cameras hidden where flowers should have been, guards near the gate pretending not to look armed. June stepped out beneath a black umbrella held by one of Cole's men. The house seemed to watch her approach. Inside, the foyer smelled of cedar leather and expensive tobacco. A curved staircase climbed toward a second floor, lined with portraits of people who looked like they had never asked permission for anything. June stood on the marble and felt rainwater drip from the hem of her cheap coat. Cole handed his coat to a waiting man. Mrs. Vale will show you to your room. An older black woman in a navy dress stepped forward. Her posture was straight, her face composed, her eyes kind without being soft. Miss Harper. June blinked at the respect in the address. June is fine. Not tonight, it isn't, Mrs. Vale said. Cole looked at June. Rest. Eat if you can. Sleep if you are able. June tightened her grip on her purse. And if I try to leave, the gate will open. She searched his face. You mean that? Yes. Why? Cole stepped closer. Because a cage teaches fear. I need your eyes clear. June held his gaze. I am still scared. I know, and my eyes are clear anyway. His expression softened in a way so brief she nearly missed it. Yes, he said. That is what makes you dangerous. Mrs. Vale led June upstairs to a room larger than her entire apartment. There was a bed with white sheets, a sitting area, fresh towels stacked beside a private bath, and French doors that opened onto a balcony overlooking the rain-dark garden. June stood in the center of it, unable to move. Mrs. Vale placed a folded robe on the bed. Kitchen is open all night. If you need anything, press the bell. June laughed under her breath. I do not think I know how to be the person who presses a bell. Mrs. Vale looked at her gently. Then tonight, you learn. When the door closed, June removed her coat and sat on the edge of the bed. The room was silent. Too silent. Her body began to shake all at once. She set the glass she had carried from the car onto the nightstand and pressed both hands over her mouth. No sound came out. Just breath broken and hot against her palms. She saw Travis falling. She saw Cole's eyes. She heard her own voice calling him a monster. Then she remembered something worse. She remembered how good it felt to be heard. Morning arrived gray and soft. June woke still wearing her uniform dress curled on top of the blanket. For a moment she did not know where she was. Then the ceiling came into focus high and white with delicate molding around a crystal light. A knock sounded. June sat up fast. Yes. Mrs. Vale entered with coffee toast, eggs, fruit, and a quiet look that suggested she knew better than to ask too many questions. Mr. Whitaker requests your presence in the east parlor after breakfast. June looked at the tray. All of this is for me. Yes, ma'am. June almost corrected her. Then she did not. After breakfast, she found the east parlor by following the sound of voices. Cole stood near the fireplace with a woman in a cream suit and red glasses. Bolts of fabric were spread across the sofa. Emerald silk, copper satin, ivory wool, gold brocade, deep wine velvet. The woman turned and assessed June in one swift professional glance. Evelyn Reed, she said. I dress people who understand rooms. June crossed her arms. I am not sure I qualify. Cole looked at her. You do? Evelyn lifted a black dress from a garment bag. I brought several pieces that will create a slimming line. No, Cole said. The room went still. Evelyn paused. No. She is not hiding. June's face warmed. Cole walked to the sofa and touched the emerald silk. This. And the copper. The red velvet. Evelyn adjusted her glasses. Those colors draw attention. Yes. June looked at him. I did not agree to become decoration. Cole turned. No. Decoration is silent. I am dressing the woman who listens. The words should not have affected her as deeply as they did. But for most of her life, clothes had been armor built from apology. Black to shrink, loose fabric to conceal. Long jackets to make her body less offensive to strangers who did not deserve comfort. Cole picked up the emerald silk and placed it over Evelyn's arm. Make them look at her. June's throat tightened. And when they do, Cole's eyes met hers. They will wonder what they missed. Later, standing before a mirror while Evelyn pinned fabric around her body, June saw a woman she recognized and did not recognize at all, still full, still soft, still herself, but not hidden. The emerald caught the warmth in her skin. The cut framed her waist instead of fighting it. Her shoulders looked strong. Her hips looked deliberate. Her body, the same body people had mocked, suddenly looked like it belonged in rooms with chandeliers. Evelyn adjusted a pin near June's side. Stand tall, Miss Harper. June almost said she was trying. Instead, she lifted her chin. By the third day, Cole began teaching her names. They sat in his study beneath shelves of leather-bound books and maps of the Gulf Coast. Photographs were spread across the desk. Politicians, union men, drivers, judges, casino owners, men with dead eyes and clean hands. Cole pointed to each one. Neil Grayson, bought but nervous. Nervous men talk to fill silence. June studied the photo. He pulls his left cuff when he lies. Cole looked at her. You noticed that at the restaurant? Yes. He moved to another photo. Mason Crow, my second. June looked at the lean man in the picture. Pale eyes, thin mouth, expensive suit, no wasted expression. He does not like me. You have not met him. I know. Cole waited. June tapped the photo. His smile stops here. She touched the corner of her own mouth. Not here. She touched her eyes. That usually means a person is performing respect, not feeling it. Cole was silent for a long moment. Then he gathered the photos. You learn quickly. No, June said. I have been learning my whole life. I just never got paid for it. Cole looked at her with that same dangerous recognition from the restaurant. Outside, rain began again, soft against the windows. June sat straighter in the leather chair, the emerald fabric from Evelyn's fitting still vivid in her mind, the names of powerful men spread before her like a map. For the first time, she was not listening from the edge of the room. She had a seat at the table. The seat at the table did not make June safe. It only brought the danger close enough for her to see its teeth. For 3 weeks, Cole Whitaker turned his world inside out and taught her how to read the stitching. Every morning, June sat in his study with coffee cooling beside her hand, while names, faces, loyalties, debts, and secrets spread across the desk like a second city built out of photographs. There was the councilman who smiled too much when he was scared, the dock foreman who rubbed his wedding ring when he lied, the casino owner who never drank in public because he was terrified of losing control, the deputy police chief whose wife thought he worked late because he loved the job, not because Cole owned half his mistakes. June learned them all, not with the hunger of someone chasing power, with the patience of someone who had survived by listening. Cole watched her across the desk while rain blurred the tall windows behind him. That one, he said, placing a photograph in front of her. June glanced down. A man in a navy suit stood beside Cole outside a courthouse. Narrow face, pale eyes, beautiful tailoring, one hand resting near Cole's shoulder, close but not touching. Mason Crow, she said. Cole's expression gave nothing away. You remember. You said he was your second. He is more than that. June looked back at the photo. Family. Closer in some ways. Blood expects loyalty. Mason chose it. There was something in Cole's voice then. Not softness exactly. Something older. A door he had not meant to leave open. June studied him instead of the picture. How long since we were boys? Then why show me his photo like he is a suspect? Cole leaned back in his chair. Because everyone is a suspect. June touched the corner of the photograph with one finger. In the picture, Mason smiled at the camera, but his eyes were not smiling. They were aimed slightly toward Cole, measuring him. He looks like a man who hates being second. Cole was silent. June looked up. You already knew that. I knew he was proud. Pride does not always look like betrayal. No, Cole said. But betrayal often dresses itself as wounded pride. June let the words settle. The study smelled of leather, coffee, tobacco, and rain. It had become familiar in a way that made her uncomfortable. She knew which floorboard creaked near the fireplace. She knew Cole kept his bourbon on the left shelf but rarely poured before sunset. She knew he read every report twice and trusted spoken answers less than silence. She also knew his men had started watching her differently. At first, they had looked at her like an accident Cole had brought home from a storm. Now they stepped aside when she entered a hallway. They lowered their voices around her. Some were polite because Cole demanded it. A few were polite because they had begun to understand she noticed too much. Mason Crow was not one of them. June met him properly on the 17th day. She was coming down the staircase in a copper dress Evelyn had fitted that morning, her hair pinned loosely at the back of her neck when the front doors opened and Mason walked in without waiting for anyone to announce him. He paused at the foot of the stairs. His eyes moved over her, not the way Travis Bellamy had looked. Travis had been crude, simple, eager to bruise. Mason's contempt was cleaner. He smiled. You must be June Harper. She descended the last step. And you must be Mason Crow. His smile thinned. Cole has told you about me. He showed me your picture. That hardly seems fair. Pictures make me look cold. You look cold in person, too." For half a second, something sharp flashed behind his eyes. Then he laughed, quietly. "I see why he finds you amusing." June stopped in front of him, close enough to smell his cologne. Expensive, bitter, too much of it. "Does he?" "He has always collected unusual things." June's pulse did not change. She had promised herself no one in this house would see her flinch. Before she could answer, Cole's voice came from the hallway. "Careful, Mason." Mason turned. Cole stood at the entrance to the study, one hand in his pocket, his face calm. Mason's expression warmed instantly. Too instantly. "Cole, I was just introducing myself." "No," Cole said. "You were testing whether I meant what I said." Mason's jaw tightened. June looked between them. The air felt different with Mason in it. Not loud, not openly hostile, but charged with old history and new insult. Mason walked toward Cole. "You have captains asking questions. Captains ask questions when they are nervous. They are nervous because you brought a waitress into private business." June felt the word waitress like a slap only because Mason intended it that way. Cole did not move. "Say her name." Mason's eyes flicked to June. June. Again. Mason held Cole's stare. "June Harper." Cole nodded once. "Good. Use it." Mason's face hardened. "You are making a spectacle of yourself." Cole stepped closer. "No. I am making a correction. To what? To every man who confused her silence with stupidity." Mason looked at June again. For the first time, his dislike sharpened into something more focused. Not just contempt, concern. He was beginning to understand that she was not decoration. That made him dangerous. That night, June could not sleep. She stood on the balcony outside her room in a robe, watching rain move through the garden. The magnolia leaves shone black under the lamps. Somewhere near the gate, a guard spoke softly into a radio. The house looked peaceful from above, but June knew better now. Power did not sleep. It only changed rooms. A soft knock sounded at her door. June turned. "Come in." Cole entered with 2 glasses in one hand and a folder tucked beneath his arm. "You should be asleep." "So should you." "I sleep badly. I'm beginning to think everyone in this house does." He handed her a glass of water, not liquor. She noticed. He noticed her noticing. "You looked like you needed a clear head." June took the glass. "Mason hates me." "Yes. You do not sound concerned." "I am concerned." "You hide it well." "No," Cole said. "I hide rage well. Concern is quieter." June looked out at the rain again. "Why does he hate me?" "Because I listen to you. That cannot be all. It is enough for men who believe loyalty is a throne they earned years ago." Cole opened the folder and placed a photograph on the small table near the balcony door. It showed Mason with Alderman Grayson outside a private club. The image was grainy, taken at night. June leaned closer. "When was this last week?" "You did not tell me." "I wanted to see if you saw what I saw." June looked at the photograph again. Mason stood angled away from the camera, but his hand was near his cuff. Grayson looked tense. His left cuff was slightly pulled, the same nervous tell June had noticed at the Magnolia Room. "They were arguing," she said. Cole's eyes stayed on her. "How do you know Grayson is lying?" "Mason is letting him." "That means Mason already knows the truth." Cole was quiet. June touched the image lightly. "And Mason is not standing like a man receiving information. He is standing like a man giving instructions." Cole took the photo back. "Good. Do not say good, like this is a school lesson." His gaze lifted. "What is it then?" June looked at him. "If Mason is dirty and he knows you are watching him, he will not just run. Men like that need to prove they were right. He will try to hurt you somewhere public enough to make the city believe you are weak. Cole's expression changed. Only a fraction. But June saw the calculation begin. The Roosevelt Gala, he said. June did not ask what that was. She already knew. The annual Crescent City Children's Hospital Gala at the Roosevelt Hotel. The kind of charity event where criminals donated to children, politicians donated smiles, and newspapers pretended not to notice how many armed men stood near the exits. Cole was expected there. Every powerful person in New Orleans would be watching. June looked at the rain. Then we give him a room full of witnesses. Cole stepped closer. She turned back to him. You wanted my eyes clear. They are. For a long moment, Cole said nothing. The space between them filled with rainlight and the quiet hum of the old house. Then he nodded. All right. The night of the gala. The Roosevelt Hotel glowed like a jewel in the wet New Orleans dark. Gold light spilled from the entrance onto the sidewalk. Valets hurried beneath black umbrellas. Cameras flashed as donors stepped from cars in silk velvet diamonds and lies. Brass music drifted from the lobby, bright and polished, covering the murmurs of security radios and whispered deals. June sat beside Cole in the back of the Cadillac, her hands folded in her lap. The emerald gown moved like water when she breathed. Evelyn had chosen it without apology. Deep green satin across the bodice, a draped waist sleeves that slipped gently from her shoulders, and a skirt that flowed over her hips instead of fighting them. Gold earrings brushed her neck. Her hair fell in soft waves over one shoulder. June had looked at herself in the mirror before leaving, and nearly turned away. Not because she looked wrong, because she looked visible. Cole had watched from the doorway. You look like a warning. June had met his eyes in the mirror. To who? To anyone who still thinks you are harmless. Now outside the hotel, the cameras flashed through the tinted glass. June's stomach tightened. Cole looked at her. You can stay in the car. No. You can stay beside me the entire night. No. His mouth curved. You are very difficult to protect. I am not here to be protected. Cole's gaze dropped to her hands. They were steady. You are afraid. Yes, but you are going in. Yes. Why? June looked through the window at the people gathering beneath the hotel awning. Because Mason will not talk if he thinks I matter. Cole leaned closer. And what do you think? June turned to him. I think I matter whether he knows it or not. Something fierce moved across Cole's face. Before he could speak, the door opened. Rain cooled the air. Cole stepped out first. Cameras turned toward him at once. The murmurs shifted. Every entrance had a rhythm, and Cole Whitaker's was a silent command. Then he offered June his hand. The flashes paused for half a second. She felt the hesitation ripple through the crowd. Not confusion only. Judgment. Curiosity. Disapproval. June knew those eyes. She had spent her life walking through them. This time she did not shrink. She placed her hand in Cole's and stepped from the car. The emerald gown caught the light. For once, the whole street had to make room for her. Cole leaned close as they moved toward the entrance. Breathe. I am. Like you mean it. She drew one slow breath through her nose. Rain. Car exhaust. Perfume. Wet stone. Money. At the top of the steps, a woman in silver looked June up and down and whispered to her husband. Is that her? June heard it. Cole did too. His hand tightened slightly over hers. June smiled without looking at the woman. Let them stare. Cole's voice was low. I plan to. Inside the lobby rose around them in marble gold-trim chandeliers and polished old Southern grandeur. The ballroom doors stood open. Music rolled out warm and bright. Waiters moved with champagne trays. Men in tuxedos laughed too loudly. Women in fitted gowns leaned close to trade information disguised as compliments. Officially, the gala was for sick children. Unofficially, it was a marketplace. By the time Cole and June entered the ballroom, 3 politicians had already looked away too fast. 2 judges had gone stiff. A casino owner nearly dropped his drink. June scanned the room the way Cole had taught her, but the instinct was older than the lesson. Exits, security, waitstaff paths, balcony doors, private hallway near the east wall, service entrance behind the band. Mason Crow stood near the champagne tower in a black tuxedo. He saw her. His expression did not change, but his fingers moved to his cuff. June felt Cole notice beside her. "Go slow," she murmured. Cole looked down at her. "Excuse me, if you confront him now, he changes the plan. Let him feel superior." Cole's eyes stayed on Mason. "I dislike letting traitors breathe freely. I know. And yet men talk most when they believe the ending is already written." Cole finally looked at her. The heat in his gaze nearly shook her. Then he turned toward a cluster of donors with the smooth charm June had learned was another kind of weapon. The night began. Cole became the center of the room without chasing it. Men came to him with smiles too careful to trust. Women kissed his cheek and left lipstick near his jaw. Politicians laughed as if they had never feared him. He accepted all of it with cold grace. June stayed beside him for the first hour. She listened. A shipping lawyer joked about delays at the port while sweating through his collar. A judge mentioned an emergency hearing, then pretended she had misspoken. A police donor asked Cole whether his drivers were still using the private garage. Cole answered with a pleasant lie and watched the man relax too quickly. June collected each detail. But Mason did not approach. He watched from a distance, patient and polished. Too patient. At 9:40, June touched the gold bracelet on her right wrist, their signal for separation. Cole looked at her for one breath. Then he said to the mayor, "Miss Harper wants champagne." The mayor smiled at her with practiced warmth. "Of course." June gave a small, shy smile. "I think I need to sit down for a minute first. These shoes are not as merciful as they look." The mayor's wife gave a tiny sympathetic sound that had no sympathy in it. "Oh, honey, beauty is pain." June lowered her eyes. "Yes, ma'am." She felt Cole's anger like heat beside her, but she walked away before he could spend it. The ballroom opened around her. She let her shoulders soften, let her steps slow, let the mask of the overwhelmed woman settle back over her face. Not because she believed in it, because other people did. Near the far side of the ballroom, velvet curtains framed a set of French doors leading to a service balcony. Beside them was a little alcove with a potted palm, a small table, and 2 chairs half hidden from the main floor. Perfect. June sat heavily as if grateful to escape notice. She adjusted the hem of her dress, lowered her head, and became background. A waiter passed without looking at her. 2 women walked by. One whispered, "That dress is brave." The other answered, "That is one word for it." June smiled down at her hands. Let them think the words landed. Let them believe pain still made her smaller. The balcony curtains moved. Mason stepped out from the ballroom, speaking softly into his phone. "Yes, 11:40. Private elevator." June's spine went still. He ended the call before she could hear more. A moment later, Alderman Neil Grayson appeared face damp with sweat despite the cool air. He slipped through the curtains onto the balcony. Then 2 men followed. June recognized them from the photographs Cole had shown her. Bellamy men. Not Travis's loud young soldiers from the restaurant, but older. Quiet, professional. The kind sent when a family stopped performing and started killing. The French doors did not close all the way behind them. A ribbon of cold balcony air slid into the alcove. Mason's voice came through it. "You are late." Grayson hissed back. "This place is crawling with cameras. That was your responsibility. And I handled it. Sector 4 loops from 1137 to 1152. The private garage feed will show an empty hallway." One of the Bellamy men spoke. Whitaker's personal driver, reassigned, Mason said. "Carter is being pulled to the west entrance over a false threat. The Cadillac will be in the service tunnel. He gets indoors close and your men light it up before the engine turns over." June's fingers went cold. Grayson's voice trembled. "And after the city mourns. You call for stability. My security company takes emergency contracts at the port. Baton Rouge gets the south route back. Everyone looks civilized by morning." The second Bellamy man asked, "And the woman?" June stopped breathing. Mason laughed softly. "June Harper. She will be upstairs wondering why he left her alone. Cole has grown sentimental, not suicidal. She is not a factor." The words should have hurt. Instead, they sharpened her. Grayson said Bellamy died in front of her. Because Travis was impatient, Mason snapped. Because he could not wait for a clean plan. "I gave him access timing the table, and he still turned it into theater." June's heart struck once hard. There it was. Mason had helped Travis. The poison had not been a desperate rival's wild move. It had been the first blade from inside Cole's own house. Mason continued lower now. "Tonight is different. Tonight Cole dies clean. No witnesses who matter." June looked toward the ballroom. Cole stood beneath the chandelier speaking with the police commissioner. From this distance, he looked untouchable. But every empire had a door someone forgot to guard. June rose slowly. Her chair made a small sound against the floor. The balcony voices stopped. For one terrifying second, nothing moved. Then one of the Bellamy men pushed through the curtain. His eyes landed on June. She looked at him with wide embarrassment and bent slightly as if adjusting her shoe. "I am so sorry," she whispered. "I did not realize anyone was out there. These heels are killing me, and I just needed somewhere quiet." He stared at her. Hard. June let shame flood her face. Not real shame. Useful shame. The kind men recognized because they had put it there. "I can leave," she said quickly. "I did not hear anything. That was risky. Too much denial could sound like knowledge." The man glanced at her body, her dress, her lowered eyes. His mouth curled. "Go back to the party." "Yes, sir." She moved past him. Slow, small, harmless. She could feel his stare between her shoulder blades until she reached the edge of the ballroom. Then she let the crowd swallow her. Her heart was pounding now, but her steps stayed measured. She did not look back. She did not rush toward Cole. Rushing would draw eyes. Panic would give Mason the gift of knowing he had been seen. June crossed the room, accepting a champagne flute from a passing waiter just to look ordinary. Cole's gaze found her before she reached him. Of course it did. She did not go to his side. She stopped near the ice sculpture, lifted the champagne to her lips, and gave one slow nod. "The signal. I found the knife." Cole's expression did not change. He finished, listening to the police commissioner. He smiled faintly at whatever the man said. He placed a hand on the commissioner's shoulder, leaned in, murmured something that made the man go pale and excused himself. June moved toward a side corridor beneath a painting of a long dead governor. Cole joined her there 30 seconds later. "What did you hear?" His voice was calm. Too calm. June spoke quickly, each word clean. "Mason, Grayson, 2 Bellamy men, private elevator at 1140. Sector 4 cameras looped from 1137 to 1152. Carter pulled to the west entrance over a false threat. Your driver reassigned. Cadillac in the service tunnel. They shoot the car before the engine turns." Cole's face became still in a way that made the hallway feel colder. June continued. "Mason helped Travis at the Magnolia Room. He said he gave him access timing and the table. For the first time since she had known him, Cole looked hurt. It lasted less than a second, but June saw it. Then the hurt disappeared beneath something much older and far more dangerous. "Mason said, 'I am not a factor,'" she added. Cole's gaze returned to hers. "He is wrong." "Yes," June said. "He is." Cole reached for his phone. June touched his wrist. "Do not move too fast." His eyes dropped to her hand. She removed it. "If you change everything at once, Mason knows. If I disappear, Mason knows. If Carter stays beside you, Mason knows." Cole's voice lowered. "You are suggesting we let him continue. I am suggesting you let him believe he is winning. That puts you in danger. I was in danger when I served coffee for $9 an hour." His jaw tightened. "This is different." "No," June said. "It is just more honest." Cole stared at her. The ballroom music swelled through the walls, bright and careless. June stepped closer. "Keep the private elevator plan. Let him watch you move toward it. Send the empty car. Move your loyal men through the kitchen corridor. Keep me visible on the grand staircase under the lobby cameras. If anyone comes for me, the whole room sees who sent them." Cole did not answer. She held his gaze. "You asked me to be your eyes. Now listen to what they saw." The silence between them burned. Then Cole slipped his phone into his pocket and nodded once. "Main staircase, under the cameras. Do not move unless Carter comes for you. Carter is being pulled away." "Not anymore." "Good." Cole stepped close enough that June could feel the heat of him. "If this goes wrong, I will burn every name in this room to ash." June looked up at him. "Then make sure it does not go wrong." His hand rose to her face, but he stopped before touching her. The restraint was somehow more intimate than the gesture. "June." "Yes. When this is finished, remind me to apologize." "For what?" "For ever thinking I brought you into my world." She did not understand until he looked at her like she was something fierce and inevitable. Then he said, "You were already built for it." June could not afford to feel that sentence. Not yet. Cole left the corridor first. He returned to the ballroom with the same controlled grace, speaking to donors, accepting champagne, making the room believe nothing had changed. June waited 10 seconds, then stepped into the crowd. Mason stood near the balcony curtains. Their eyes met. He smiled. June gave him the shy, tired smile of a woman with aching feet and nothing important in her head. Then she walked to the grand staircase and took her place beneath the chandelier where every camera in the lobby could see her. June stood beneath the chandelier with her hands folded over her emerald dress and her eyes on the ballroom doors. Above her, crystal lights trembled softly, catching the gold in her earrings, the green in the satin, the rain silvering the windows beyond the lobby. Around her, people moved as if the night still belonged to them. Women laughed behind champagne flutes. Men checked watches, adjusted cufflinks, and spoke in the smooth low tones of people who believed money made them safe. June knew better now. Money did not make anyone safe. It only made the walls prettier when danger came through them. A photographer near the far column lifted his camera and snapped a picture of her. June did not turn away. She let the lens catch her face, her shoulders, her body, the entire shape of her standing exactly where Cole had told her to stand. Visible. That was the point. Not hidden behind a plant, not tucked beside a kitchen door, not shrinking herself into the corner of someone else's story. Visible enough that Mason Crow could see her. Visible enough that every camera in the lobby could see who came near her. Visible enough that for once anyone who tried to erase her would have to do it in front of witnesses. Across the lobby, Mason stood near the ballroom entrance with a glass of champagne in one hand. He was beautiful in the way knives were beautiful. Polished, thin, cold. His tuxedo fit him perfectly. His smile rested lightly on his mouth, meant for the people passing by, but his eyes kept returning to June. He thought she was nervous. She let him think it. Her fingers touched the gold bracelet on her wrist, then fell away. No signal, no warning, just a gesture any woman might make when she had been left alone in a room full of strangers who wanted to stare but not speak. A woman in white satin stopped 3 steps below June. "You must be overwhelmed," she said. June looked down at her. The woman's smile had the polished pity of a social page photograph. "Excuse me. All this." The woman lifted one hand toward the chandeliers, the marble, the crowd. "It must be a lot coming from where you came from." June kept her voice mild. "You mean the restaurant?" The woman's smile tightened. "Well, yes." June looked past her toward Mason. He was still watching. So she gave the woman exactly what Mason expected to see, a small, embarrassed laugh. "It is a beautiful hotel." The woman seemed satisfied, as if June had returned to the proper size in her mind. "It certainly is." She drifted away. June's smile faded the moment the woman turned her back. At the edge of the lobby, Carter appeared. Cole's most trusted guard looked like any other security man in a black suit, except his eyes moved too deliberately. He crossed near the front desk, paused as if checking his phone, then gave June the smallest nod. Carter had not been pulled to the west entrance. Good. June breathed once. Not relief. Preparation. The clock above the reception desk read 11:36. 4 minutes. Mason checked his watch. Alderman Neil Grayson moved through the lobby with a napkin pressed to his mouth. His face had gone pale and glossy. He did not look at June. He did not look at Mason. Guilty men always believed not looking was the same as not being seen. June saw him anyway. Cole passed through the ballroom doors at 11:37. Every conversation near the entrance bent toward him. He moved with easy authority, stopping to shake the mayor's hand, accepting a word from the police commissioner, letting a woman in diamonds touch his sleeve for 1 second longer than necessary. If June had not known him better, she might have believed he was simply leaving the party. But she saw his left hand. 2 fingers brushed his cuff once. Then again. His signal to his own men. The private elevator hallway opened near the east side of the lobby. A velvet rope blocked it from regular guests. 2 hotel security guards stood near the entrance, both looking too stiff to be useful. Mason stepped away from the ballroom. He did not follow Cole immediately. He was too careful for that. Instead, he turned toward June. For 1 heartbeat, they looked at each other across the lobby. June gave him the tired, uncertain smile of a woman who did not know she was standing in the middle of a murder plan. Mason lifted his glass to her. A toast. Then he walked toward the private elevator corridor. June felt her pulse in her throat. At 11:38, Cole reached the velvet rope. A hotel guard moved it aside. At 11:39, Carter crossed behind June, close enough that only she heard him. "Do not leave the stairs." June did not turn. Was not planning to. Good. He moved on. At 11:40, the elevator doors opened. June could not see inside from where she stood, but she saw Cole's reflection in the polished brass beside the corridor. He stepped forward. For a moment, her body forgot the plan. Her hand tightened around the stair rail. Then Cole's reflection shifted left instead of right. He did not enter the elevator. His coat did. One of his men placed Cole's black overcoat over the shoulders of a driver with the same build, the same dark hair, the same controlled posture from behind. In the confusion of reflections, cameras, and distance, the illusion lasted just long enough. The elevator doors closed. Mason smiled. June saw it. Small, private, triumphant. Then the lobby lights flickered. Not off. Just once, as if the old hotel had blinked. Some guests looked up and laughed nervously. Mason's smile vanished. He touched his earpiece. June could not hear what came through it, but she saw the blood leave his face. Down beneath the hotel, the service tunnel was not silent. The empty Cadillac rolled into position with its engine idling, dark windows reflecting concrete walls and yellow safety lights. Mason's men waited behind utility trucks. The Bellamy shooters raised their weapons the second the car stopped. They fired into the back seat. Glass spidered but did not break. Then the tunnel lights went black. When they came back on, Cole's men were behind them. No shouting, no warning. Just the hard final sound of men realizing they had been invited into their own grave. Upstairs, June heard nothing. That was the luxury of expensive hotels. Even violence had to pass through velvet before it reached the rich. But she saw the first crack in Mason. His right hand went to his cuff. Not once. Again and again. He turned away from the elevator corridor and started toward the west exit. Carter stepped into his path. Mason stopped. The two men spoke quietly. June could not hear the words, but Carter's face did not move. Mason's did. Control slipped at the edges. Grayson tried to leave through the ballroom. A hotel server bumped into him with a tray of champagne. The glasses shattered across the floor. Grayson cursed, stepping back, and two men in plain black suits appeared beside him. Not hotel security. Cole's men. They took him gently by the arms, like friends helping a drunk guest find air, and guided him through a side door. No one stopped them. No one ever stopped calm men in good suits. June looked back at Mason. He had seen enough. He changed direction, straight toward her. The lobby seemed to stretch as he came across it. June stayed on the staircase. Every instinct in her body screamed to move. Move down. Move up. Move away. But she held her place beneath the chandelier, beneath the cameras, beneath every curious eye that had underestimated her from the moment she arrived. Mason stopped 2 steps below her. June. His voice was soft, almost kind. She looked at him. Mason. His eyes were pale and furious. You should come with me. Why, Cole wants you moved somewhere secure. June tilted her head. Does he? Mason's smile tightened. Yes. And he sent you. He trusts me. June let the silence sit between them. A man nearby turned to watch. Then a woman. Then the photographer near the column lifted his camera again. Mason noticed. His voice lowered. Do not make a scene. June's heart hammered, but her face stayed calm. That is funny. His eyes narrowed. What is men always make the mess and then tell women not to make a scene? A camera flashed. Mason's jaw tightened. He stepped onto the first stair. June did not step back. Move, he said. No. It was a small word. It landed hard. Mason's mask slipped. You have no idea what you are standing in. June looked down at him. I heard enough. His hand twitched near his jacket. Carter moved from the column, so did 2 other men. But June lifted one hand slightly. Not yet. Mason saw it and understood something he should have understood earlier. She was not alone. She had never been bait. She was the visible part of the trap. His face changed from anger to hatred. You think he cares about you? June's throat tightened, but she did not let the words enter. Mason leaned closer. You think Cole Whitaker knows how to love anything that does not belong to him? June's voice stayed even. I think you just proved you never did. For a moment, Mason looked as if he might strike her in front of the whole lobby. Then the ballroom doors opened. Cole walked in. The room changed before people even saw him. It was like pressure dropping before a storm. Conversations faltered. Heads turned. The police commissioner stopped mid-sentence. The mayor's wife lowered her champagne flute. Cole crossed the lobby with soot on one white cuff and a cut along his cheekbone. Not deep, not enough to weaken him. enough to make him look less like a man from a charity gala and more like what he truly was. The most dangerous thing in the city. Mason turned slowly. For one terrible second, the two men looked at each other with 20 years between them. Boyhood, blood, loyalty, graves, favors, secrets. The kind of history people mistake for love because it has lasted so long. Cole stopped beside June. He did not look at her first. He looked at Mason. "You gave Travis my table." Mason's face went still. The lobby heard it. Not everyone understood the sentence, but everyone understood the tone. Cole continued. "You gave him my time, my route, my glass." Mason's mouth opened. Cole's voice lowered. "And tonight, you gave him my car." Mason recovered enough to smile. "You sound emotional." Cole stepped closer. "No. Emotional was letting you live this long." A few people gasped. Mason's eyes cut toward the cameras, the guests, the security men now positioned near every exit. "You will not do this here." Cole looked around the lobby as if seeing the audience for the first time. Then his gaze returned to Mason. "You chose here." Mason's face flushed. "You brought an outsider into our house. You humiliated men who built your name. You let a waitress whisper in your ear, and now you think that makes her your oracle." Cole's expression did not change. June felt every word. Not because Mason still had the power to wound her, but because the whole room had gone silent enough to hear the ugliness clearly. Cole turned slightly. Not away from Mason. Toward June. "Did he touch you?" June shook her head once. "No." Cole nodded. Then he looked at Carter. "Take him." Mason laughed. It was sharp, desperate, almost broken. "You think they will follow her over me?" Cole's eyes darkened. "They are not following her." Carter stepped forward. Cole's voice was quiet enough that the front row of guests leaned in to hear it. "They are following me because she was right." That broke something in Mason. He lunged, not at Cole, at June. It was fast, ugly, and human. The last act of a man who could not stand that the person he dismissed had become the reason he lost. June saw his hand move. She stepped sideways, not back, letting the satin of her dress sweep clear as Carter caught Mason's wrist and drove him hard against the stair rail. Another guard took his other arm. A third removed the small pistol from beneath Mason's jacket. A woman screamed. Mason struggled once. Cole watched without blinking. "You always hated being second," Cole said. Mason breathed hard through his nose. "And you always loved being worshipped." Cole stepped closer. "No, I loved being obeyed. Worship makes men stupid." His eyes moved to June. Tonight reminded me of the difference. Mason looked at her too. His hatred was naked now. "You think this makes you Queen?" June came down one step. The lobby watched her. Not Cole, not Mason. Her. She stopped close enough that Mason could hear every word. "No. It makes me the woman who heard you when you thought I was furniture." Mason's face twisted. Carter pulled him away. This time no one pretended not to see. They watched Mason Crow Cole Whitaker's oldest friend, second in command, and trusted right hand, dragged through the lobby like any other man who had confused power with immunity. The doors closed behind him. The silence left in his place was enormous. June realized she was still holding the stair rail. Her knuckles had gone pale. Cole turned to her. For the first time since entering, his face shifted. The cold king cracked just enough for her to see the man beneath the violence. "You stayed." June swallowed. "You told me to." "No." His gaze moved over her face as if checking for damage he could not bear to find. "You chose to." The room was still watching. June became aware of all of them again. The mayor, the judges, the donors, the wives, The men who had called her brave with their mouths and shameful with their eyes. The photographer with his camera frozen halfway to his face. Cole seemed to become aware of them, too. He looked around the lobby, then back at June. Slowly, deliberately, Cole Whitaker lowered himself to one knee. The sound that moved through the room was not a gasp. It was more like air leaving a church. June stared at him. Cole. He took her hand. His palm was warm. His knuckles were bruised. There was a faint smear of ash near his wrist. No man like him knelt by accident. No man like him knelt without meaning every person in the room to understand the language of it. Cole looked up at her. Every man in this city thought they understood power. His voice carried through the lobby. They thought it was blood, money, fear, a name that opened doors before you touched them. June could not breathe properly. Cole's thumb brushed once over her fingers. They thought loyalty came from history, from sharing graves, from standing beside me long enough to believe the place was owed. His gaze did not leave hers. Tonight, the man I called brother tried to kill me. A murmur moved through the crowd. Cole let it pass. And the woman this city spent years ignoring saw the knife before it reached my back. June's eyes burned. She tried to pull her hand back, not because she wanted to leave, but because being seen this completely felt like stepping into flame. Cole held gently. Not trapping. Asking. You saved my life once in a restaurant full of cowards. You saved it again in a ballroom full of liars. His voice lowered, but somehow everyone still heard. You are not my weakness, June Harper. He kissed her knuckles. You are the reason I am still standing. June felt the room shift around her. The same people who had looked at her with pity now looked at her with caution. The same women who had whispered about her dress now stared like they were trying to remember every insult they had spoken near her. The men who used to talk over waitresses suddenly seemed very interested in silence. Cole rose. He did not release her hand. June looked at him, then at the room. The old habit came for her. Lower your eyes. Soften your voice. Make them comfortable. She let the habit reach her. Then she let it die. June turned toward the lobby. Her voice was calm when she spoke. You can stop pretending not to see me now. No one answered. The chandelier hummed softly above them. June took one step down so she stood beside Cole instead of above him. I have carried your plates, poured your drinks, cleaned your spills, smiled at your jokes when they were not jokes at all. Her gaze moved across the faces. I know which of you tip well and which of you cheat your staff. I know who prays in public and lies in private. I know who talks about charity while buying silence. Alderman Grayson was gone, but plenty of men in the room looked as if they wished they were. June's voice did not rise. It did not need to. I spent years being invisible to people who should have known better. She looked at Cole then. And I am done mistaking being overlooked for being powerless. Cole's expression was something she had never seen from him before. Not possession, not hunger. Pride, open and unguarded. June looked back at the room. I am not behind his throne. Cole's hand tightened around hers. June lifted her chin. I am not beneath it either. The silence became complete. Cole said, No. His voice was low, but it carried. He turned toward the watching city. Beside it, the words moved through the lobby like a verdict. June felt them settle not as a gift, but as an acknowledgement of something she had already earned in blood, fear, and nerve. Outside, sirens rose somewhere far away. Not close enough to matter. Not yet. The gala began to fracture. People whispered into phones they were no longer allowed to use freely. The mayor backed toward a side room with two of Cole's men politely shadowing him. The police commissioner looked at Cole, then at June, then decided survival was more important than questions. Cole leaned close. We should go. June looked toward the ballroom doors. What about them? They will remember tonight differently depending on how much they value breathing. That should have horrified her. Part of it did. Another part, the part born in narrow restaurant aisles and sharpened by years of swallowed humiliation, understood the world had always run on fear. The only difference was whose fear counted. June walked with Cole toward the hotel entrance. The crowd parted, not smoothly, not gracefully. They moved like people stepping away from fire. At the doors, Carter waited with Cole's overcoat, the real one this time. His face had a fresh bruise along the jaw, but his eyes were steady. "Car is ready," he said. Cole nodded. "Casualties, none of ours." Cole absorbed that with a slight lowering of his lashes. And Mason secured. June did not ask what that meant. She already knew enough of Cole's world to understand that some doors closed forever. Rain greeted them outside. New Orleans glowed under it. Streetlights haloed in gold. The pavement shone black. A saxophone played somewhere in the distance, mournful and sweet, as if the city itself was trying to make beauty out of damage. Cole guided June down the hotel steps. Reporters shouted questions from behind a rope line. "Mr. Whitaker, what happened inside? Is it true there was a security threat? Who is she?" That last question cut through the others. June stopped. Cole stopped with her. For years that question had been asked as dismissal. Who is she to take up space? Who is she to stand there? Who is she to think she matters? June turned toward the cameras. Rain touched her face. The emerald dress darkened at the hem. Her hair loosened from its pins, one wave falling over her shoulder. She looked straight into the nearest lens. June Harper. That was all. No explanation, no apology, no plea to be understood. Just her name. The cameras flashed. Cole watched her, and in the flash of white light, his expression looked almost undone. Then he opened the car door for her. Inside the Cadillac, the silence wrapped around them again. But it was not the same silence as the first night. That silence had belonged to shock. This one belonged to aftermath. June sat back against the leather seat, her hands finally beginning to shake. Cole noticed immediately. He did not reach for her without permission. "May I?" June looked at his hand, then nodded. He took her bruised wrist, carefully turning it under the soft car light. The marks Travis had left had faded to yellow and purple. Mason had not touched her, but the night had. Cole traced none of it. He only looked. "I should have kept you farther from him." June let out a tired breath. "You really do have a problem with understanding what beside means." His gaze lifted. For 1 second he looked startled. Then he laughed. A real laugh. Low, brief, almost unwilling. June stared at him. "That is the first normal sound I have heard from you. I would not grow attached to it." "Too late. I am telling Mrs. Vale." His mouth curved. The city moved beyond the tinted glass, wet and golden, and unaware that its balance of power had shifted inside a hotel lobby. Cole released her wrist gently. "Do you regret it?" June knew what he meant. Not the gala, not Mason, the restaurant, the glass, the first choice. She looked out the window and saw her reflection beside his. Emerald satin, tired eyes. A woman still soft, still scared, still herself, but no longer hidden from her own strength. "I regret that a man died in front of me," she said. Cole did not interrupt. "I regret that I understand why it happened. I regret that the world is ugly enough to make men like Travis and Mason and you necessary." His eyes stayed on her. "And me." June turned back to him. "I do not regret saving the room." Cole accepted that. He looked away, but not fast enough to hide what the answer did to him. June leaned her head against the seat. "Ask me again when you stop being trouble." Cole's smile returned darker now. "That may take some time." "Good." His eyes found hers. "Good. If you became boring after all this, I would be furious." The car carried them through the rain. By the time they reached the garden district, dawn had begun to silver the edges of the sky. The mansion gates opened. The oak trees stood black against the morning, dripping with rain. Guards moved quietly along the drive, speaking into radios, pretending the night had not rearranged all of them. Mrs. Vale waited inside the foyer. She took one look at June's dress, Cole's cut cheek, and Carter's bruised jaw behind them. Then she said, "Breakfast." June almost cried. Instead, she laughed softly. "Yes, please." Mrs. Vale nodded as if mafia betrayals and midnight power shifts were no excuse to miss eggs. Cole removed his coat. June started toward the stairs, then stopped at the bottom step. The same staircase where she had met Mason. The same house where she had first felt like a guest, then an asset, then something no one had named yet. Cole stood behind her. "What is it?" June looked at the portraits along the wall. Whitaker's, long dead, stared down in oil paint, all sharp cheekbones and inherited arrogance. "This house has too many men on the walls." Cole followed her gaze. "Yes." She glanced back at him. That was not a complaint. It was an observation. His mouth curved. "Those are usually more dangerous from you." June climbed one step, then turned. "I want my mother moved today. Already handled. Eli safe. New job offer waiting when he wakes up." Ray Cole's eyes cooled. "Raymond is reconsidering his management style." June nodded. Then she looked down at herself. The emerald dress was stained at the hem, damp from rain, creased from fear and victory. It was still beautiful. "I want a desk in the study." Cole went still. June held his gaze. "Not a chair when you invite me. A desk. Mine." Something in Cole's face shifted slow and fierce. "Done. And I want every file on the port contracts. Done. And coffee." Mrs. Vale called from the hallway. "That is also done." June smiled. Not the waitress smile, not the survival smile. Her own. Cole watched it like he had just seen the sun rise inside his house. June continued up the stairs. At the landing, she looked back once. Cole Whitaker stood below her in the gray morning light, the city's most feared man, still marked by soot and blood, still dangerous enough to make powerful men tremble. But when he looked at June, there was no pity, no disbelief, no attempt to make her smaller, only recognition, the kind she had earned, the kind she would never again beg for. Outside New Orleans woke slowly. Delivery trucks rattled over wet streets. Cafe doors opened. Church bells rang somewhere beyond the oaks. People would read careful headlines and believe careful lies. They would whisper about a security incident at the Roosevelt, about Mason Crow's disappearance, about Cole Whitaker walking out with the woman in emerald green. They would ask who June Harper was. By then the smart ones already knew. She was the waitress they had ignored, the witness they had dismissed, the woman who heard everything. And from that morning on, every man in New Orleans with a secret learned to lower his voice when she entered the room,